All right, Stanley Cup final. Avalanche have got their match. It's the Lightning. And Aaron, I'll let you go first here. Who wins the series? And I will get into our picks as well. Like we're doing that first, but we'll preview it later. Who wins it? Tell me right now.
So that's all you want is just winning.
You can preview it all you want to. I'm just saying, I know, before I get this out of the way first.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't know how much of a hot take this is going to be here, but for me, I think as long as we see the Vasi of the last four games, the first four of the only four of the Panther series, Tampa in 5.
Oh! Woo!
You don't want to preview. That's what you get. Tampa in 5.
Well, tell me why. Go ahead.
Like I just said, I think Vasilevsky's head and shoulders above Darcy Kemper. If we even get Darcy Kemper, we're going to miss Nazem Kadri for the majority of, if not the entire series here in this spot. Nathan MacKinnon can be shut down. There's a bevy of players on defense for Tampa Bay, including the real Norris Trophy winner, even though Makar is going to win it this year, including Ryan McDonough, Zach Bogosian, guys who just want to stay at home and not let Nathan MacKinnon take over a series. Nathan MacKinnon doesn't have the ability to take over a series like Connor McDavid does. Like Austin Matthews does, and hell, even like Nikita Kucherov does. Steven Stamkos, I was ready to get off this wagon about 5 years ago, back in 2017, when he just couldn't stay healthy. I am so glad to be wrong about that one. This is a true captain, a true warrior, and for me, of the era of Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin, the third best player of this era that gets no respect because of those two guys, and rightfully so. I get it. But he is just firing on all cylinders. He's a captain. We saw the fight in Game 5. That's something I hadn't seen out of Stamkos in potentially his entire career. And I love every minute of what this team does. I know I'm a homer and I'm biased, and I watch the game with the blue colored glasses. But here's the situation: if Vasilevsky does Vasilevsky things, the Colorado has no shot in this series. No shot.
Aaron, do you know what the line is for the series?
In terms of the series price, I believe it's Colorado minus 180.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy.
Ship it.
Sammy, who wins?
So I bet Colorado to win the Cup. They were one of two teams I put money on at the beginning of the playoffs. So obviously I'm going to both be rooting for them and predicting them. But this is clearly the toughest matchup they're going to have. I've been very hard on Tampa Bay this year, but they have been the best team in the East, and Aaron was right in every way. I'm gonna go Colorado in 7. I'm hoping for a good long series. I do think that Vasilevsky can be beaten. He's been shown to have not great games in these playoffs. He's also shown to be very dominant. Colorado is just simply faster. I think Tampa is tougher. It will be a very fun series to watch.
I will say this. I think it goes Colorado game 1, Tampa Bay the next 4. Also, Mike, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you have no more teams left in our draft. This is me versus me.
I think it's because I think you get 30. I think you're up to 35 to 5 right now.
You guys always ask me who has a better list, and I always pick the guy who either goes like this or like this. For hockey, it was this.
Yeah, you're funny. I'll make my pick, and I'm going to tell you why first before I make my pick. I think this will be a very long series in terms of the games themselves. Before Aaron made his in 5 pick, I was curious as to what I would take. I wanted to go, long series. I just feel like I've watched hockey the last 2 years off and on, but this year a lot. And I've learned that goaltending is the most underrated thing, probably the most important thing in hockey. And I learned it with my Kraken. Vasilevsky is going to show people why there need to be more goalies in the Hall of Fame, because they are what eventually stops the puck. In LL, they are what stops the bouncing ball. It's a real thing. In soccer, they have to dive to stop Messi or somebody. Lightning in 4.
No, stop.
I don't see it. Give me a scenario where Colorado wins.
I think they win game 1.
Why?
I think because they've been sitting. for 8 days, I believe now, and I think that they're a different rest versus rust kind of team. Now, I will say this. I mean, I'm happy to hear you say that, and I might be the only person that watches hockey that will say Kyle McCarr is a phenomenal hockey player, but he is going to get eaten up by Alex Killorn, Andre Palat, Anthony Cirelli. God forbid if Braden Point comes back. These guys' sole mission, other than putting the thing in the thing, is going to be just stopping McKinnon and McCarr. If Rantanen beats you, say la vie. Good series. If Gabriel Landeskog beats you, then maybe we need to have a strong inward look in here. But Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar are not going to beat these Tampa Bay Lightning. And the craziest thing I have to say after all this is even if the Lightning win a third straight cup, and you said it, Andrei Vasilevskiy still might not be a surefire Hall of Famer at this point.
Yes, he is.
I think he is. I'm just saying he might not be with the way goaltending is treated in the Hockey Hall of Fame. I mean, you have, what's his name? Grant Fuhr barely got in. He won 4 cups with the Oilers. I mean, it's insane. Martin Brodeur, like Vasilevskiy will project into one of the centers of all time if he stays on this trajectory. But right now, if he ended his career and won another cup, I don't know.
Sammy, what is your take on that? And I'll give mine.
Well, as not being a big NHL historian, I don't know a ton about the history of the game like Aaron does. I've only really become a fan the last couple of years. Just watching the games live, I mean, you can tell how much difference it makes when you have a good goaltender versus not having a good goaltender. The Knights went through that this year, and I went to plenty of their games. And so I 100% agree. Goaltending is probably the key to most of these teams winning long-term. Any one game, though, goalies can be beaten. And a lot of times it's not even the goalie's fault, right? Bad defenses cause goals to happen more than bad goaltending, in my opinion. So while I do think the goalies are super important, they can save you from yourself. In the end, I certainly understand why the Hall of Fame is littered more with offensive players than goalies. And I do think Vasilevskiy deserves to be in the consideration of a Hall of Famer, though. He's been absolutely phenomenal.
Consideration,
100%.
Sure,
I don't disagree with that. Absolutely.
To me, the Lightning turned around. And I didn't watch as much as y'all did in the playoffs, but the Lightning turned around when Vasilevskiy went on shutdown mode again. And to me, watching the last 2 finals, that's what all I saw. Like, this guy doesn't allow anything. Like when he's locked in, it's impossible.
If you could collectively come up with 6 goalies in the Hockey Hall of Fame, I will give you guys $20 right now.
How many are there in the Hall of Fame?
There's 36 goalies in the Hall of Fame.
How much money did you give me?
I'll give you $20 if you could come up with 6 goalies.
I need 2,000 because I can't even name one.
Martin Brodeur, I can name one.
You could get the easy ones right off the bat. I'll give you 4 of them right now.
Martin Brodeur, I can name him.
Never heard of him.
Patrick Waugh, I'm pretty sure he's in.
Patrick Waugh, Dominic Hasek, Ed Belfour, and Grant Fuhr. Now go.
Never heard of him.
Yep. I like I said, I'm not much of a hockey historian. I couldn't possibly, but
the ones I would name for you: Tony Esposito.
I've heard of Tony Esposito. I thought it was somebody else.
Ken Dryden, Jacques Plante, Ed Belfour. Like you guys, you have no idea who these guys are. These guys, I mean, they're some of the greatest of all time back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Of course, Patrick Roy is one of the greatest goaltenders of all time. Dominic Hasek the same, but goaltenders just don't get in the Hall of Fame. It's insane.
I can name Tim Howard faster than any of those guys.
Yeah, well, he's a soccer player.
That's what I mean.
But my point is that all these people in Vegas are like Marc-Andre Fleury. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. I don't know if he is.
Aaron, though, I mean, I've watched a lot of the games that you have as well. Don't you think that a lot of goaltenders' stats are very fluctuated? In other words, like they have great years, they have not so great years. A lot of it is the other players on the ice that dictate whether they have great years. So
for me, the goaltenders that are in the Hall of Fame, Dominic Hasek's the number one. I mean, he played for so many bad Buffalo Sabres teams. And those teams made playoffs because of him. Vasilevskiy, it seems that, we haven't really had the experience of, Kucherov's been there. Palat's been there. Killorn's been there. Stamkos has been, like, they've had this nucleus, this core, Braden Point for the most of it. Like, if Vasilevskiy were to leave and go to another team, or if this team were to be broken up, then we would see what Vasilevskiy could do without this core. Like, Martin Brodeur has had interchangeable guys, in New Jersey, but ultimately he was always in the playoffs because of himself. Dominic Hasek, same thing. Ed Belfour. Patrick Roy with Montreal and with Colorado. I mean, these guys were one of a kind. And Vasilevsky, I think, is that. I just wonder if he goes to, like, let's just say he got traded to Arizona tomorrow.
Ha!
Or next year, I mean. Like, could he make the Arizona Coyotes a fringe playoff contender?
Yeah,
I think so. But
I don't even know if they make it, though.
You'd have to see that happen for me to really say.
That's a good point.
You saw it with Marc-Andre Fleury this year, though. He goes from being the best goaltender in the league, goes to a lousy team, and he's not really as good. And their team wasn't even close. Their team wasn't close to making a playoff.
I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, despite what everybody here in Vegas says.
Despite Hall of Fame or not, he was the best goaltender last year on a good team, went to a not-so-good team, and that team did not sniff competition. So how much difference did he make? I guess what I'm saying. Isn't it the guys around him that matter more than him?
Of course, it's still a team game, but that's what I'm saying. The guys who are in here, Patrick Roy, Grant Fuhr, Dominic Hasek, and Martin Brodeur are the first ones to come to mind. You put those guys, you put anybody in front of them, and that team's still a fringe contender because of them. Like, I think Marc-Andre Fleury was not the best goalie last year. Philippe Grubauer was. Now, of course, Philippe goes to Seattle, and it all falls apart. How you doing, Mike? And see, the thing is, Mike will never understand unless he watches last year how good Philippe Grubauer was, because he was so bad in Seattle. Philippe Grubauer was better than Marc-Andre Fleury. Marc-Andre Fleury, I feel like, got a get-me-over Vezina trophy because they want him to have that. I don't think Marc-Andre Fleury is a very good goaltender. I think he's been right place, right time for 18 years. I think he's a decent goaltender, but he's not a Hall of Fame goaltender. And I'll say that until he probably ends up getting in.
I don't think, though, for Hall of Fame, I don't think being a fringe contender on a bad team is enough. I think if you put the best players on a bad team, a lot of times they elevate that team much better than that. I'm new to hockey, but in other sports, it's certainly that way. You put, the Connor McDavids on a different team, that team automatically becomes a contender. Not even a fringe contender, they become good. Hockey, the stars only play, 20 minutes a game, and so it's a little bit different than other sports. But goaltending to me, while it is super important, just seems to be relegated to who else is on your roster more than even them by themselves.
Right, which is one of the more reasons why it's crazy to me that a person who's on the ice for 60 plus minutes gets less consideration for a guy who's on there for 20.